The murder of a president, prime minister, king, or other world leader can resonate throughout a country. Sometimes, the assassination of a leader is so shocking and profound that it triggers what psychologists call flashbulb memory in a country's citizen. As a result of the painful experiences in their histories, most governments now surround their leader with protection, which ranges from a handful of personal bodyguards to elaborate security services to deter a prospective assassin or group of assassins from carrying out their deadly actions. In this video, I will list out top 10 assassinations of great leaders of the world that sent shockwaves among their followers and marked that day as an epoch of mourning and sorrow. Hey there, if you're watching my video for the first time, then do subscribe, and while you're at it, don't forget to hit the like button as well. With that out of the way, let's get started. Arguably one of the most famous assassinations in the history, the 35th United States President John F. Kennedy faced a number of foreign crises but managed to secure achievements as Nuclear Test Ban Treaty and the Alliance for Progress. Kennedy served at the height of Cold War, and the majority of his work at President concerned relations with Soviet Union and Cuba. A Democrat, Kennedy represented Massachusetts in both houses of US Congress prior to becoming president. He was assassinated while in a motorcade on 22nd November 1963 in Dallas, Texas. Lee Harvey Oswald was charged with the crime, but he refused the charges, saying he was being framed. 2 days later, Oswald too was gunned down by a nightclub owner. Many believe a larger conspiracy behind Kennedy's assassination, but nothing could be proven. Yitzhak Rabin was the 5th Prime Minister of Israel, serving 2 terms in office, 1947 to 77, and from 1992 till the day he died. Rabin was born in Jerusalem to Jewish immigrants from Eastern Europe and was raised in a labor Zionist household. Rabin is one who tried to resolve the Israel-Palestine conflict. The Israel PM had signed the Oslo Accord, which aimed at resolving Israeli-Palestinian issue. For his role in the creation of Oslo Accords, Rabin was awarded the 1994 Nobel Peace Prize, along with Yasser Arafat and Shimon Peres. The Accords greatly divided Israeli society, with some seeing Rabin as a hero for advancing the cause of peace and some seeing him as a traitor for giving away the land they viewed as rightfully belonging to Israel. A right-wing radical by the name of Yigal Amir got angry and assassinated the PM on 4th November 1995. Since his death, there has been no peace deal between the two nations. Indira Gandhi served as Prime Minister of India for 3 consecutive terms, 1966 to 77, and a 4th term from 1980 until she was assassinated in 1984. She was the only child to Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of the independent India. After Nehru died in 1964, he was succeeded by Lal Bahadur Shastri, who served as India's Prime Minister until he also died suddenly. Upon Shastri's death in January 1966, Indira Gandhi became the leader of Congress Party and thus also Prime Minister. Indira Gandhi and the Congress Party remained in power until 1977, largely through the declaration of state of emergency throughout India, imprisoning her political opponents, assuming emergency powers, and passing many laws limiting personal freedoms. Several states sought a larger measure of independence from the central government, and Sikh separatists in Punjab used violence to assert their demands for an autonomous state. In response, Gandhi ordered Operation Blue Star, which was army attack in June 1984 on Sikhs' holiest shrine, the Golden Temple at Amritsar, which led to the deaths of at least 450 Sikhs. 5 months later, Gandhi was killed in her garden by 33 bullets fired by 2 of her own Sikh bodyguards in revenge for the attack on the Golden Temple. Francis Ferdinand was an Austrian archduke whose assassination was immediate cause of World War I. Francis Ferdinand was the eldest son of the Archduke Charles Louis, who was the brother of Emperor Francis Joseph. The Archduke Rudolph in 1989 made Francis Ferdinand next in succession to the Austro-Hungarian throne after his father, who died in 1896. In foreign affairs, he tried, without endangering the alliance with Germany, to restore Austro-Russian understanding. At home, he thought of political reforms that would have strengthened the position of the crown and weakened that of the Magyars against the nationalities in Hungary. In June 1914, he and his wife were assassinated by the Serb nationalist Gavrilo Princip at Sarajevo. Princip's act gave Austria-Hungary the excuse that it had sought for opening hostilities against Serbia and thus precipitated World War I. Having learned that Francis Ferdinand, as Inspector General of the Imperial Army, would pay an official visit to Sarajevo in June 1914, Princip and 5 other revolutionaries awaited the Archduke's procession. Benazir Bhutto was a Pakistani politician who served as Prime Minister of Pakistan from 1988 to 1990 and again from 1993 to 1996. She was the first woman to head a democratic government in a Muslim-majority country and was the second female leader of Pakistan. Bhutto was a controversial figure. She was often criticized as being politically inexperienced and was also accused of being corrupt. Bhutto had opted for self-exile while her court cases for corruption remained pending in the foreign and Pakistani courts. After 8 years in exile in Dubai and London, Bhutto was finally granted amnesty by the then President of Pakistan, Pervez Musharraf. She returned to Karachi on 18 October 2007 to prepare for 2008 national elections, allowed by a possible power-sharing deal with President Pervez Musharraf. Bhutto survived an assassination attempt in Karachi during the homecoming. En route to a rally in Karachi on 18 October 2007, 2 explosions occurred shortly after she had landed and left Jinnah International Airport. Bhutto was not injured, but the explosions, later found to be suicide bomb attack, killed 139 people and injured at least 450. 2 weeks before the election, on 27 December 2007, she was shot as she was waving to her supporters through the sunroof of a car. An explosion went off as well, resulting in her death soon after and killing 20 others. Her party won the elections nevertheless. Alexander Litvinenko was a former officer of Russian Federal Security Service and KGB. After speaking critically about what he saw as corruption within the Russian government, he fled retribution to UK, where he remained a vocal critic of the Russian state. Once acquitted, he found asylum in England and possibly worked as an MI6 agent. 6 years after fleeing, he was poisoned by 2 Russians in suspected assassination. On 1st November 2006, he suddenly fell ill after a meal. He was poisoned by radioactive polonium-210 and died on 23rd November. He is the first known victim of lethal dosage. His wife believes that the order to kill him came from Moscow. Subsequent investigations by Britain authorities into circumstances of Litvinenko's death led to serious diplomatic difficulties between British and Russian government. Qassem Suleimani was an Iranian military officer who served in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. From 1998 until his assassination in 2020, he was the commander of the Quds Force, an IRGC division primarily responsible for extraterrestrial and clandestine military operations. In his later years, he was considered by some analysts to be the right-hand man of Supreme Leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei. The top Iranian military commander was killed in the American drone strike on his motorcade in Baghdad. US President Donald Trump had expressed a desire to target Soleimani in a 2017 meeting with then National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster. On January 13, 2020, 5 senior current and former Trump administration officials told NBC that President Trump had authorized the killing of Soleimani in June 2019 on the condition that he had been involved in killing of many Americans. The strike followed attacks on American embassy in Baghdad. The killing further led to Iran launching missiles on 2 American military bases in Iraq on January 8. Martin Luther King Jr. was a Baptist minister and social activist who led the civil rights movement in the United States from mid-1950s until his death by assassination in 1968. His leadership was the fundamental to the movement's success in ending the legal segregation of African American in the South and other parts of United States. King rose to the national prominence as the head of Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which promoted non-violent tactics such as massive march on Washington in 1963 to achieve civil rights. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. Martin Luther King Jr. was shot on 4th April 1968 by James Earl Ray. He was standing on the balcony of the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee. He was only 39 years old. Ironic how a peace-loving person met such a sad and early end. Abraham Lincoln was 16th President of the United States from 1861 to 65, who preserved the Union during the American Civil War and brought about the emancipation of the slaves. Among American heroes, Lincoln continues to have a unique appeal for his fellow countrymen and also for the people of the other lands. This charm derives from his remarkable life story, the rise from humble origins, the dramatic death, and from his distinctively human and humane personality, as well as from his historical role as savior of the Union and emancipator of the slaves. John Wilkes Booth, a member of one of the United States' most distinguished acting families of 19th century, assassinated President Abraham Lincoln. Booth was a vigorous supporter of the Southern cause and outspoken in his advocacy of slavery and his hatred of Lincoln. Lincoln was watching a play at the Ford's Theatre in Washington, D.C. on April 14, 1865. Lincoln sat there without any bodyguards. John Wilkes Booth crept up from behind and shot him in the head at point-blank range. It was a Good Friday, and the man who got America through the Civil War and slavery died on the spot. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was a leader of the Indian nationalist movement against British rule and was considered to be the father of the nation. He is internationally esteemed for his doctrine of non-violent protest to achieve political and social progress. It was one of the greatest disappointments of Gandhi's life that the Indian freedom was realized without Indian unity. In 1946 to 47, the outbreak of communal riots between Hindus and Muslims unhappily created a climate in which Gandhi's appeal to reason and justice, tolerance and trust had little chance. In September 1947, his fasting stopped the rioting in Calcutta. A few days later, on January 30, he was on his way to his evening prayer meeting in Delhi. He was shot down by Nathuram Godse, a young Hindu fanatic. Nathuram Godse believed that Gandhi treated Muslims with more respect than Hindus by incorporating the Quran into his teachings in Hindu temples, for example, while refusing to read from Bhagavad Gita in mosques. Godse was also critical of what he considered to be Gandhi's ineffective use of power in the Indian National Congress during and after the partitioning of the country. That's all I had for this video. If you enjoyed, then drop a like, and if you like watching interesting videos like this one, then do subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that you're notified when I'm back again.